How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
Have you guys seen The Fall of House of Usher on Netflix?
No.
Yes.
John Mark
But
has.
I've seen the other shows this guy's done, and they're fantastic.
What
Did
other
you
shows?
watch?
What other shows has he done?
Midnight Mass.
No.
Yep.
Oh my God!
Well,
watch fucking Midnight Mass.
It's higher on my list.
Yeah, dude.
After seeing him Fall of House of Usher.
Watch it.
He did the Hill House. How was it? The
Haunting of Hill House.
Okay.
which was great.
Is
I
that a
didn't see
series
that
too?
one. I saw that one. What'd you say?
Is that a series?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 10 episodes.
That's
He
so
did,
confusing
what was
because
it?
there's the old movie, then there
Haunting
was the
of
remake.
Bly Manor.
I haven't
Yeah,
heard
Bly
of that.
Manor. Yeah.
Wow.
Hill
see that
House,
one.
Bly Manor. There's another one he did. It was like a Midnight Club, which was like more geared towards like the tween set kind of. I didn't really get into that one. But everything else has been just fucking stellar. Like,
So you'd
Holy
recommend
fucking shit.
Usher?
oh,
dude,
dude,
oh my God.
Fall House of Usher is amazing.
It's so good. It is so fucked up. I don't know. Well, I don't know if they're connected to any other series, but what is it? I think it's 8 episodes, maybe. It's not
8.
It's not a ton, but they're long episodes, and it's pretty grim, pretty dark. But if you don't have to be super steeped in the world of Edgar Allan Poe, but the more you know about him, the better, the more you'll get out of it. But it's very, very loosely based on Edgar Allan Poe stuff. And the whole thing is kind of like taking, like each chapter, each episode is sort of based on either one character or one well-known trope from Edgar Allan Poe. But it's not like right down to, there's a lot to interpret and a lot to update in some of Edgar Allan Poe's stories. But they're all faithful in theme and faithful because you know where it's going. And I think they're so well known, like Edgar Allan Poe stuff is so well known that when you even see the title of the episode, you're like, oh shit, where is this going? But the way that they tie it all in together and just the story itself is so compelling and the actors are so good. One of my favorite actors in it, though, is one of the kookiest characters, and that's Henry Thomas, a grown-up Elliot from E.T.
Mm-hmm.
I have not...
Yep.
I can't remember seeing him in an adult role recently. Did he play Norman Bates? Am I making that up? Did he play Norman Bates in something? Was he in some sort of psycho thing? He could. I may have made that up in my head, but it's so fucking good. And the 5 minutes into it, you'll be hooked. And it's just like, and the main guy that's he's telling the story, and then there's a lot of flashbacks to like the 70s and all throughout, leading up to where he's at. And he's just got this really hypnotic voice, and it's got the spooks. It's got a lot of jump scares, but it's not cheesy. It's really cinematic, really good Halloween-y stuff, but also it's oddly it's so relevant in a lot of ways. And
All right.
There's no way I would not speak to anybody that would watch this series that didn't at least think it was pretty good. You can't possibly not like it. You guys will love it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to bump that up my list, and I want to talk about it again when.
Yeah. And this is one thing that we haven't done in a while. I think this would be a great spoiler cast. Like somewhere down the road, we'll do a normal episode, and when we got time, we'll take like 20 minutes or so to talk about the show in detail, because there is a lot to talk about, a lot to break down, and there's still some mystery by the time you get to the end of it, but it's all wrapped up. It's not like one of those, you think it's going to be one of those things like, oh, what the fuck, but it does a pretty good job of wrapping everything up without being like annoyingly so. Like, I hate the Scooby-Doo ending, and that became so popular like in the 2000s, the mid to late 2000s. Everything had to have that Scooby-Doo ending. And I always loved things like... You still have
questions at the end of it.
Yeah, but not nothing like that's going to leave you frustrated. It's a very, very satisfying, but hard to watch in some scenarios. Just really fucking clever how it's all put together. It's a fun exercise in sort of dissecting famous works of literature from 100 fucking years ago and modernizing them in a way. And that's why Edgar Allan Poe endures anyway. It's like, misery and comeuppance is forever, There's a lot of good, delicious comeuppance in The Fall of House of Usher, but it's beautifully fucking done.
I watched a movie today that you'd probably be surprised I've never watched. No Country for Old Men.
Oh, great flick.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one too. But that one's hard.
I've wanted to watch it for years.
Well, talk about one that ends in a huh.
So Lyle, did you notice while you were watching that movie that there's no music in the movie basically at all?
Well, I didn't realize that.
Huh. No, I didn't. I
don't think I did.
There's no soundtrack.
Prove it.
There's like one scene where there's like a mariachi band playing. But
and he wakes up in the city.
Other than that, there's no music.
That's weird.
Okay,
watch it again and pay attention to that, and you're like, holy shit, wow! But it doesn't matter.
It's hard
you're enthralled.
It's hard to rewatch that movie because it's so grim, and it's like
it is, yeah.
Nothing you want to have happen happens.
Coen Brothers, I can't remember.
It is,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's one of their best latter-day works. But without doing any spoilers, I will just say there's a lot of disturbing scenes in that movie. But to me, one of the most amazing. It's an amazing cinematic reveal, and one of the more just maybe disturbing isn't the word, but like pathetic was the cop scene in the police station when all is said and done with the trestle, and then the camera pans back to reveal like the entire room. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't want to spoil anything.
I remember this now.
It's just like it's
a 20-year-old movie at this point.
When he gets the handcuffs around the cop, and then it's like there's the struggle, and then there's just that shot that pans back, and you just see how his boots have been like kicking all around and scuffing. That was such a brilliant, simple thing to show, but it's like, wow, that's really dark and really powerful.
Yeah, right over the cop's shoulder, you see the killer, and he's taking out the. He somehow gets out of his shackles, but he still has his cuffs on. And he stands up and he walks slowly behind him. And he's like, the cop's like, oh, yep, we got everything handled here on this end. And all right, love you, bye-bye. And as soon as he hung up the phone, he just started strangling him.
But it's
that
shot.
like an MMA fighter.
It's that shot after.
Just held him.
It's just like,
yeah, dude.
Good shot, good thinking. Coen Brothers, I fucking love them. Even their lesser memorable movies I think are still pretty fucking good, but my favorite filmmakers of all time. Well, should we get our guest on, Katie Sergieff?
Katie Sergieff. Now, guys, I want you to start thinking about question. She is a 911 operator and has been for I don't know how long now. It's one of the questions I want to ask her.
I don't think it's been too long.
She's ready to. That link works. The problem with these podcasts is when we do two of them, I like to drink or other stuff. And by the second one, I'm like...
That's not a problem. I don't know if you've noticed, but the second ones are always the best episode. Although Rob is always fucking great. That's going to be a good episode.
Yeah.
He's on.
That's great. Let's see if that works. Please work.
You know any 911 lingo?
No.
911
life, son.
Lingo.
Help.
1044. We got a 1044.
I didn't know I was choking her so hard.
We got a 8675309. We need Jesse.
Turns out it's hard to say the safe word when you got a belt around. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
God.
I think it was. What was it? It was the ape. Your safe word with Chris. The ape.
It was
orangutan.
Anti-disestablishmentarianism.
England 911 is 999. Dial 999.
It seems smarter.
999.
Just do the one number. Just keep on hitting that.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, Katie Sergieff joins us again. It's been a bit.
Yeah, I thought you must have been on. You must have been on to play Weird Triv at some point, yeah?
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm a loser. I never win.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Katie also sent in a great album review, audio one for us to play. She reviewed the brand new song "Limousine." Remember when we were doing the album picks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed that.
Oh, that's been a hot minute since you guys have done the album club.
We gotta
Bring
do
it
that
back.
again.
Yeah.
We gotta bring it back.
We have all sorts of ideas and concept, but
Mm-hmm.
for a while we were lucky to even do a show, but maybe now we're back on track. But thanks for joining us tonight, Katie. So
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Christopher just mentioned before we got you on that you are are you dispatcher, or do you just take the calls? What is your actual title?
Well, my actual title is I'm a communications officer 1, but what that means is I take the calls from the public. I don't talk to the officers.
Okay, so you don't go out over the radio.
Do you wear a badge?
No, I'm not on the radio.
Okay.
Do you wear a badge? Like a sexy badge?
It's
I
very
do
sexy.
have a badge. It's not very sexy.
Lyle, you're down in the mix again. If you could turn yourself
You can
up
make
a
it
bit.
sexy.
It's a very unsexy lanyard.
It's a sexy badge, Lyle.
There really is no sexy lanyard, is there?
You want a little lace, a little furl around the outsides.
Even the word lanyard. Like, who came up with that? So, Katie, you take the call. So if someone dials 911, you're the one that goes, hello. Describe your terrible evening. You're that person that answers?
I sure am. Yeah, we at the call center, we get the calls like randomized. So it's based on how long it's been since you've been off a call. So if you've been off a call the longest, you're next up for a call. We know we're getting a call because we get a little tone in our ear, and then we hear a pre-recording of our own voice saying 911, what are you reporting?
Oh, wow. So you have to hear your own voice every fucking time you get a call.
I sure do. Or if it's if it's coming through on a non-emergency line, it says non-emergency, what are you reporting? So I kind of know based on what I hear myself saying, what I'm getting into.
Are you under any kind of laws telling that you can't like state certain things? Like,
oh yeah, I can't give you like names, addresses, and I have to keep it a little vague.
Could you possibly give us like one of the most fucking freaky calls you ever had? Like,
Lyle just wants to jump right into it.
We lost a light bulb and we gotta pull it out.
How much sex stuff do you get?
Before you answer that, Katie, hang on. You sound great. You're clear. You're not distorted or anything, but you're way louder than everybody else. So if you could just back off your mic just a little bit.
Sorry, I'm just on my phone.
No,
That's
it's
perfect.
fine. Hold that a little further away from your mouth. Yeah, you sound great, but there's no way for me to mix. You're all on the same track. So as Lyle said, yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's talk about some of the freakiest shit you've heard.
Well, we have a couple of the local jails within our jurisdiction, and some of the craziest stories have actually come out of the jails.
Wow.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
There was one guy, he decided to, I don't remember what it was that he decided to shove up his urethra, but
urethra.
Oh no, not that urethra shove.
Once he got it up there, he panicked and decided to cut it out, and then there was a lot of blood and
rookie mistake, panicking.
Bro. Yep.
Yeah, never cut it out.
Yeah, I think he ended up passing out, and one of the guards called it in.
So you took that call.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man.
How did that come across? Like, yeah, we're down here at the jail, and we got a dingleberry that was I'm assuming it was a worker at the jail who phoned in. How did that? How did they present that to you?
They say, well, we have a patient here, an inmate, and they're bleeding. It's like, okay, well, where are they bleeding from? Oh, he's
penis,
bleeding.
ma'am.
Penis. Okay. So what happened there? And they gave me the little rundown of what happened.
Oh my god! Wow. I wonder which way he went. Did he do the like fucking eating the corn the wrong way?
Like the hot dog or the bun?
Or did he like fucking like circumcised style?
Wait, what do you mean?
I mean, like how you gonna cut it? You know?
How many ways could he go to get it
Seriously.
in his urethra? I don't know what you're
You
asking.
could either go
I think
long
he's talking
ways.
about how you sliced it to get it out.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Gotcha.
yeah.
I'm with you. I don't want to be with you, but I'm with you.
Yeah, like, I wish I
didn't
wasn't.
get that specific.
Man, I keep thinking about having to hear your own voice recorded every day. My worst nightmare would be like, "Hi, welcome to Tales from the Space Pod. Do you wipe front to back or back to forward?"
It is kind of nice though because we do have a lot of downtime between calls, and so like I'll read a book or I'll be playing a game on my phone, and so I'll just hear that prompt in my ear, and that's what I know I need to like put my bookmark in, set my book down, get ready to roll into action. So
Oh man, do you guys have like an all hands on deck time, like New Year's Eve or Halloween or something, where they're like everyone's working tonight, yo?
4th of July
Oh,
was
okay.
a hot mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, our phones
People
crashed
blowing
on
their
4th
shit
of
up?
July.
Oh no.
What are
Literally.
most of those calls? Fires? Injuries?
Fireworks mostly.
My fingers.
Oh, just people calling them in that people
Yeah,
are lighting
blowing
them
their
up.
fingers
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a couple people who were just dedicated to strictly taking fireworks calls. So we
my
were,
God.
the rest of us were just screening them. So if people were saying,
So
"Oh, I'm
boring.
calling about fireworks," we'd screen them. But we had such a high call volume that our phones crashed for about 20 minutes.
Ooh, wow. What happens then?
And so
Death.
I don't know if you've ever like accidentally dialed 911, but you can't hang up fast enough for us not to know that you called.
Yeah.
And
Oh.
so we have to like call you back if a phone called 911.
Yeah, because
And
they
so
may
when
be
our phones came
incapacitated.
back online, it said we had like 200 missed calls. so
Whoa.
we had to go
200
through all
call
of
back.
those. Yeah, and a lot of those were like people had called like multiple times.
Yeah, no
so
shit.
yeah, I was supposed to work until 2 a.m. that day. I ended up working until 4 because we were just so slammed. And I told them, I don't feel good about leaving right now. So I ended up working 14 hours on the 4th of July. I left
Oh
at 4
my God.
a.m.
Well, one thing that I recently learned from listening to true crime podcasts is that, I don't know if this is universal, I'm assuming it is because the technology would be, is that when you call 911, even before anybody picks it up, it's recording you. So when you're hearing the
Yes.
phone ringing, it's recording what's happening in that room. And the reason this has come up in cases is because a lot of time, well, and sometimes if someone's like if someone just killed their wife and now they got to call 911 and act all upset about it, they'll wait until someone
Lemon
picks
face.
it. Lemon face. It'll be silent.
Officer.
It'll be silent the whole time until someone picks it up, and then they'll do that, like, my wife, someone just came in and robbed us and shot us, because they don't realize that it's recording. That's kind of magic.
Right.
That the second you
Wow.
hit that 911, it's recording you, even though the phone is ringing. Have you had any interesting things happen when someone called 911 and they were being recorded? Maybe they said something, or it gave a clue that maybe they were up to no good because of that.
Not necessarily from that, but I definitely have heard that like on true crime podcasts. But I mean, there are calls where you definitely get a sense of this is bullshit, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to
Right.
cover my ass and I'm going to put in the call anyway.
Yeah.
And so when the caller calls in, I enter the call for dispatch. Dispatch airs it to the police officers, and the officers decide whether or not they're going to respond. So it's not for me to decide if I'm going to enter a call or not. So even if it sounds like the most ridiculous bullshit thing in the world to me, I'm still going to enter the call and cover
Yeah.
my ass.
Yeah, you pass it along.
and
Sure.
let the dispatcher and the officers decide if they don't want to respond.
Yeah.
That would
Sure.
make the job so much fucking better, because it's like I would laugh my ass off if I heard some ghetto ass shit like, just when you pick up the phone or when it's recording, right? So you're listening and you're hearing some just ghetto ass shit in the background, like, bitch, I told you need to get your shit out.
You hear that kind of stuff
Yeah.
all the
That
time. And
legitimately
it's-
happens.
sometimes it's very nice that we have a mute button so we can
Laugh.
mute ourselves and laugh
Like, guys,
or
guys,
I
you
would
gotta come
laugh
hear
my
this.
ass.
sigh.
Well, knowing that you relay it, do you guys have, I've always been curious about this, is there like a frequent caller list that you have? Is like, oh boy, it's old man Evans again
Yes.
calling about the
Ron
neighbors.
again.
Do you put that on
Old
low?
man Evans.
So there is
Stuck
a
in
list.
the bathtub.
Like, we don't need to give this as much credence.
We definitely have frequent callers. A lot of the frequent callers, their issue is more like mental health kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what they're
Oh,
reporting,
yeah.
like it sounds ridiculous, but it's like real in their mind.
Oh, that's sad.
So when we get a frequent caller, some of them will call like 20, 30 times a day.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah,
Well-
we have one guy, he'll call and like describe what he's watching on TV as if it is happening in his apartment.
God.
God.
You ever get a call from a guy, old man Evans, that says his cats are trying to eat him?
No, it'd be they're playing that fucking mariachi
yet.
music
Man,
again.
Evans,
It's only
those
Thursday.
cats
though.
are chasing me all around my house. I think they're trying to eat me.
I was peeping in the neighbor's window and they're looking at me with binoculars. I'd like to report them.
They're
Nothing.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. How long have you been doing this job, Katie?
It'll be 2 years in June.
Amazing. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I know I've been listening to the scanner basically my whole life. I have it on all the time. And there have been people, I briefly dated a girl a few years back. Every time she came over, she made me turn it off because it just depressed her. And it's not.
That's when you knew. That's when you knew she was
It was like,
from material, huh?
Just check something off in my mind.
Deal breaker.
Yeah.
You get out of the kennel and go home.
Someone's going home around 11:30 tonight.
Yeah.
Is it like, because a lot of people think this is maybe an exciting or fun, interesting career, and I'm sure it's all those things at times. I'm sure there's a lot of mundane and boring parts of the job, but a lot of people that I know who have personally done this job, they kind of hated it, and they found it stressful, and even the ones that stayed with it for like I know a girl that did the local dispatch here. She was one of the ones that were directly responsible for dealing with traffic between, it's Rivercom here is the base. And that could go out to police, that could go out to fire, that could go out to SWAT, all sorts of high stress situations. But even aside from those and like the shootings and the big things, you have all these calls of domestic violence, like you mentioned, mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like a pretty heavy job. Is it mostly mundane, or do you feel kind of like you got a lot of weight
It is
on you when
mostly
you walk away?
mundane. I mean, a lot of what we take is just report calls. My car was stolen. This was
Yeah.
broken into.
Illegal parking.
Shoplifting. Most
yeah.
of what, and like medical stuff. Most of what we take isn't, the crazy shit. I mean, that varies shift by shift. I work swing shifts, so I do a little day, a little nights. Days tend to be like more report calls, and it's heavier volume of calls, and nights tend to be more time between calls, but the calls that do come in seem to be like more serious things. I just really love it. Like, even when I do get a high stress call, like, I don't know, there's just something about me, like I just snap into action, and I
good.
just
You're geared toward it.
I'm able
Little
to keep
adrenaline.
calm under pressure. I mean, there's definitely times where after I'm off my call, I tell my supervisors, like, yeah, I need a couple minutes, like to
Yeah,
to wind down on the
absolutely.
adrenaline
Do
of
you
that
guys
one.
have like a cry room at work or something? I'd be like, it's such a high stress job.
We do. We actually have 2 cry rooms at work.
No shit.
That was a joke.
And they're not the bathrooms.
It's
you
not actually called a cry room. It's called a quiet room. But
Okay.
Little bunch of teddy bears
man.
and fucking something to blow your nose with.
How much training did this require for you?
so I did 12 weeks of classroom training before we ever took calls. And then I did 6 weeks of one-on-one training with one trainer, and then I did 6 weeks with a second trainer before they signed off and said, okay, you know what you're doing. You can take calls on your own.
Wow.
So when I was in that one-on-one training, I had an experienced call receiver who was listening in on my calls, and if I was ever like at a loss for what to say, they would like feed me lines or tell me what to
Hi, I'm Bill.
what to say, what to ask.
I'm your backup emergency response. Katie is struggling right now, but
Your whole job is trying to keep the situation calm.
Yeah.
Until the cops get there or whoever gets there, the ambulance say, so you got a lot riding on what you have to do, and to keep a conversation with somebody, we're not talking about like 2 minutes. We're talking, it could be up to, probably 15 to 20 minutes before
Oh yeah.
emergency response team gets there, and you have to keep them calm.
Yeah, I was on
kinda
one a
part of
couple
the
nights
situation.
ago, somebody was actively breaking into her house, and she was awesome. She kept so calm. She went and
Wow.
locked herself in an upstairs bedroom, and she gave me the minimum information I needed, and I told her, I was like, okay, don't feel like you need to talk to me. I don't want you to put yourself in danger, but I'm here. And so it was just an open, quiet line for.
That must be so wild to be in that situation.
And then I have to tell her, okay, well, the officers are outside now. What you're hearing is the officers. And then the officers got there and they saw that the back door was open. And I had to tell her, okay, now the officers are going inside. They're going to clear the house. Don't open the door until I tell you it's safe to do so.
Right.
Wow.
That's
And you have
crazy.
so you're communicating with somebody that's communicating with the officers at this point then?
Yeah, so
okay.
Yeah, so once I enter the call, I'm getting messages from dispatchers, and I can see, if you've seen Harry Potter, it kind of looks like the Marauders map. I have like a map, and it shows me like where the units are on my screen. It shows them moving like in real time.
In the in like on the street,
GPS.
like where they're
Yes.
Okay. I was like, how'd you get a map of her house?
Would it be a violation of rules for you to take a screenshot of that map, just not during a call, but just like in general, and send it to us so we can use it for the show?
I could do that. I'm
so curious
I
what
wouldn't
that
be
looks
able to
like.
have like anybody's address on it.
Right. Just like nothing's happening. But you meant, we're talking about like these big things like shootings or people breaking into your house. But you mentioned the medical thing. To me, that has the potential for being just as heavy, because you'd be getting calls of people that are hysterical, watching like somebody they love choking or having a stroke or like literally dying, or they found them dead. That to me seems just as heavy, if not heavier, than some of these other, like maybe more exciting things. Have you had to walk?
I talk people through CPR.
I was just going to ask that.
Daily.
Wow.
You got to be very emotionally
that's interesting.
dialed in, to I think be able to do that type of a job.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be hard, right?
Well, I mean, obviously not cold and callous where you don't feel any feelings, but like you almost have to ride that edge,
Do you have to disassociate a little bit to do this?
Yeah, definitely, because you'll get the people, especially like you'll get the parents, and they're screaming over their child who's not responding, but you have to get them to the point where they're like, this is what you need to do, follow my instructions. And
please.
Yeah. And so you have to take control of the situation while also keeping yourself calm.
Nuts. Tell us about a moment maybe you're proud of. I know you've had to do a lot in the time you've been doing this.
So we actually do get feedback from our CPR calls. So if the aid crew responds on scene and they determine that, yes, this was active cardiac arrest, and yes, the early CPR is what saved their life, we do get like recognition for that. We get like a little lifesaver coin. So I have a couple little coins. And I feel proud of all those. And it's funny. Sometimes I'll get off a call and I'm like, okay, I'm getting a coin for that one. I know, because like my caller did so good.
That guy just
like
saved
I had
a bitch.
One. It was actually like, I think it was like 2 days before Christmas. This guy called in and he's like, my wife fell in the shower. I'm like, okay, well, is she conscious? He's like, oh, I don't know. Let me go see. He's like,
wow.
And he's like,
You're
no,
conscious?
I don't think she's awake. I think she knocked herself out. I'm like, well, is she breathing normally? And he's like, no, I don't think she is. And then he starts like freaking out a little. I'm like, okay, if she's not conscious, not breathing normally, we need to start CPR. Can you get her flat on her back? And he starts freaking out. He's like, but she's in the shower. I'm like, you got to get her out of that shower. You got to get her flat on her back. And, I ended up getting him to do CPR. And in the midst of him doing that, like he had told me, like when I told him that the aid crew was going to be coming in, he's like, oh, I don't want them to wake my daughter. She's 2 years old. And I'm like, oh, please don't let this 2-year-old lose her mom like 2 days before Christmas.
Oh my God.
But yeah, they end up getting her back, and felt really good about that one.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of the times, by the time you're talking people through CPR, it's too late.
Oh,
and so when you do get one like that, it feels like a win.
Yeah. Well, out of that 12 weeks of training, I mean, obviously you're doing some medical training. You got to know CPR. I'm sure you got to know how to deal with the choking scenario. What other things are you trained for in that 12 weeks?
Yeah, we had to go to a little medical class so we could give instructions of various things. When people call with a medical call, we have a button we click and it pops up with a bunch of different pages, and based on their chief complaint, we go to that page and it gives us various instructions.
Boy, you don't want to get that page wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you want to pull the nozzle out and inflate? No.
one of the things they taught us to give was childbirth instructions.
Oh,
And
my.
during academy, I told everybody, I'm like, hell no, don't want to do this. Not a mother, never going to be a mother. Like,
I can tell you how their start. But,
Yeah,
That's a different
911.
hotline now.
yes.
oh, that's right.
It also starts with a 9, ironically.
What can I do to you?
So naturally, the first time I had to give childbirth instructions, I was talking to a man it was language barrier, and I told him I can get an interpreter. He's like, no, you can talk to my daughter. And I started talking to the daughter. Come to find out, the daughter is about 7 years old, and the incident was, this baby's coming like now.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
And so I'm having to like talk to this like 7-year-old girl who's speaking Spanish, and I'm telling her like, okay, tell her to get on the floor and take off her underwear and put her knees up. And this little girl is like, I can't tell her to take her underwear off. I'm like, listen, you got to tell her exactly what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Now, see, that sounds
Luckily,
high stress.
The fire department showed up before the baby did, but I don't know who was more traumatized on that one, me or that little girl.
Right.
Is it weird getting off the phone? I imagine the last part of the conversation is always like, okay, the cops are here. I'm just going to fucking hang up. Or, something awful or good. Like, is the end of the conversation you have with people usually... I don't know. I haven't called 911 very often. like what do you what's that typically like?
Chris, you need to step up your nosy neighbor game.
Depends on what the situation is. If it is something that's emergent, I'm gonna stay on the phone with them until they get there, and then it's okay. I'm gonna let you go. I can hear them there, and they just stop talking to me, and I just hang up. Or if it's something that the officers are just gonna respond when they can, I just tell them, we've given the information to the officers. Give us a call back if anything changes in the meantime. Because we can't even promise a response. I can't tell them the officers will be there as soon as they can, because the officers might read it and say, no, this call's bullshit. We're not going.
Oh, wow.
I never until just now put together the connection between the word emergency and emergent. Am I alone there? It's interesting. I like it. Etymology. We learned something. I learned something.
There you go. The more you know.
The more you know.
When I grew up, actually, one of my good friends, his mom was his dispatch, but it was back in the 90s. So, I mean, they didn't have the super tech that they have nowadays. It was just pretty much open.
Crayons and a pad of paper and a...
Well, it was push pins on a map, yeah.
With some,
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so she was always stressed out a lot. She loved the shit out of us. She was a single mom, to my buddy. And she kind of like, everybody around, she kind of took as her own. So it was like, when she's dispatched. So when you get into trouble, no, you're not in trouble yet. You wait until she gets a hold of you, and then you're in trouble. So, I mean, it was kind of fun and whatnot, so...
Have you ever experienced straight up just somebody saying they're dead?
Oh, yeah.
Like just I have somebody that's dead, or I think they're dead. That's part of not necessarily a medical thing, but possibly a criminal thing. Have you experienced something that could potentially be a murder?
Yeah, we get those. A lot of when they're calling and just saying somebody is already dead, it's usually a medical thing or a suicide.
Yeah.
if it is something that's criminal, it's usually like, oh my God, there was just this shooting or something. But yeah, it's always crazy to get those calls because we have to ask questions like, was this expected? Or
Yeah.
because sometimes people will say, oh yeah, it was grandma. We knew it was coming. It's fine. But then
Right.
you get the people and they walk in and find their 18-year-old son is OD'd in the basement. I haven't
To
been
me,
on the
that would.
phone to like listen to a murder, if that's what you're asking.
Well, like, no, you get a phone call. It's
Mhm.
911. What's your problem? And I'm like, I don't know. There's somebody, like breaking into my house.
like
I could have sworn I heard
Oh,
a rack of a
yeah.
shotgun, but I'm
shots
not
fire,
too
yeah.
sure.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden you hear, you're hearing the shit going down.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
haven't had anything like that personally.
well, thank God.
We did have something in our call center like that a couple weeks ago. It was somebody who called and said, "Oh, these guys are at my door. They're trying to get in." And then next thing we knew, it escalated. The guys got in and they had shot him. Um,
Fuck.
he
Wow.
he did survive, but it did escalate to that point.
Wow.
Well, as somebody who is a
I
true
was wondering
crime fan, you must know that a lot of times these stories, they usually play the 911 call. These are all recorded, of course, but sometimes they're not just included as, a way to dramatically start the telling of this true crime story, but sometimes the 911 dispatch is part of the actual case, because as I mentioned,
Yeah.
it's always recording, but there have been these cases where maybe the dispatcher wasn't taking them seriously, or there's just some communication thing, or it seems like that's a very potentially high stress thing. But it's interesting to think that at any given day, one way or the other, you could end up on one of these true crime documentaries, if only to hear,
Oh, yeah.
you taking the call, because there's so much. I don't know about y'all, but I've probably listened to 1,000 true crime podcasts. I've watched every Dateline that's come out in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
They almost always
can't do it.
play the 911 call, and I feel like I have developed an ear. I'm not always right, but I'm mostly right when I can tell when somebody is acting versus when. But it's so tricky because we all respond to trauma differently. Some people are super calm. Some people might even sound like they're kind of giggling. They're just like in a state of shock. So it's a tricky thing. But
Yeah.
obviously you haven't had that kind of experience yet. It's probably only a matter of time before you do. You've done this job for 2 years. You're pretty new. But do you feel like you've experienced what haven't you experienced yet in terms of like, is there something you this might be a weird way to phrase it. Is there something you're kind of like not wanting to experience, but is there something you're bracing for and you've gone through the scenarios in your head like, okay, this is how I handle it, that you haven't handled yet or that you haven't had to handle yet?
I think the thing that I am most dreading that I know is inevitably going to happen based on talking to coworkers is you are going to get somebody who takes their life on the phone.
Oh,
my
God. Have you gotten
That's not
anybody
heavy.
that's threatened it?
Yeah.
Like even just claimed to be suicidal?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is
I've gotten
rough.
suicidal callers a fair bit. This may sound weird, but I actually like talking to the suicidal callers. Um, I actually feel like I can help them in a way to try to get them to, put down the knife if they're cutting themselves.
Yeah.
Just because a lot of these people, I just feel like they just really want someone to listen to them. And if I can be that person, then I'm going to do that.
Well, God bless you for having that attitude about it.
No shit.
Is that part of your training as well? It must be, like dealing with, that's got to be, there's so much that goes into this. Suddenly, when you first said 12 weeks, I was like, that's a pretty significant chunk of training. But then I'm thinking, boy, this is a lot to cover. So,
Yeah,
what
they give us different like lines of questioning that we should pursue for different types of calls, like different questions we should ask for different scenarios. So it was a lot of training, but I do feel like it prepared me for for doing my job to the point where I feel like I'm comfortable doing it on my own, where I don't feel like I'm out here floundering, and I do feel like I'm actually doing something that legitimately helps people on a regular basis.
Were you pretty nervous to start doing this?
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the first few times I would take a call, like I would panic when I'd hear that tone in my ears and my voice asking, like, what are you reporting? Even though in the beginning they have us taking like report calls and it's like stolen cars, but still, it was just nerve-wracking, getting used to it.
Huh.
Yeah, that's correct. That's the
Were they
correct way
mainly
to,
Hondas?
because it's a heavy
Were they mainly
responsibility.
Hondas?
I'm just curious. I don't want to take my Dodge over.
Well said. Were they
Oh, no,
mainly
actually-
Hondas?
No, actually, right now they're all Kias and Hyundais. I don't know if you're aware of that trend, but
It changed.
you
It
can
was
learn how to
Hondas.
steal a Hyundai or a Kia on TikTok. So
Oh God.
Oh,
I
I,
know,
did see that. They had to
my
change
car
how those cars are built because of that.
Yeah.
yeah, I actually drive a Kia Soul, and since starting this job, I now have a steering wheel lock and an air tag in my car. I've been
You have the club?
Yeah, I sure do.
AirTag's really a smart idea.
Yeah, and we actually, it's funny, me and Mr. Sergieff, we have to change our homeowner's insurance since we were looking for new insurance, and everyone's asking, oh, do you want a bundle? No one will insure my Kia, so I can't change auto
What?
insurance.
Oh, 'cause they're
Interesting. Like,
What
no,
kind of Kia is
that's
it?
as
If you
good
don't
as
mind me
stolen.
asking. I know where we
Kia
got
Soul.
I have a Kia
Oh,
Soul.
it's a Soul. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
hmm
Yeah, I know at one point, Honda's Civics were like the #1 stolen car, and then
Yeah,
lately,
Honda
Accords,
Civics were stolen
Accords and
because their
Civics, yeah.
resale value, but now it's Kia Souls and Hyundai Elantras because they're easy to steal. You can steal it with a thumb drive.
well,
But I
apparently,
didn't tell you that.
What?
Yeah. Are you guys not seeing this on TikTok?
There's a certain date range of Kias and Hyundais that they fucked up with their security protocols, and
No way.
Wow. And they, for whatever reason, they haven't recalled them or anything. But it's a whole thing.
Yeah. They did give away a shit ton of clubs though, but they haven't really done anything else to remedy that situation. So
Here's a free
if
club.
anyone else out there is driving a Kia or a Hyundai, get you a club, get you an AirTag, and take a picture of your license plate because people call to report their car stolen
And they don't know their plates. I don't know mine. Do you guys know yours? To be honest. Do you know your license plate?
I don't know. You're right.
when I bought
Keep
my
a picture of your plate on your camera roll.
Smart. Yeah. Okay, I'm doing that tomorrow.
I know the Dodge Challenger is actually really coveted right now because they quit making them. They're going to be extinct, going to electric. And I know that they're going to electric. They're not making a V8 anymore. Dodge.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So basically,
The comet's coming for them. They're going the way of the dinosaur.
What you're going to get, and it is jacked the hijacking of those cars. Unbelievable. They have all these weird antenna refracting laptop machines that'll bounce your key fob information into their computer.
I saw antenna refracting machines open for
Mars Volta.
It's nuts. It's crazy.
It sounds like a banging show. Yeah.
Well, I've seen
but
it.
Lyle,
I've seen
do
it,
you
like,
know?
not TikTok, but it's.
But Lyle, do you know
there.
your license plate number by heart?
I don't. It's like
So,
Chud. And I
John
don't
Mark is
remember
the only
that
one out of us
because
that know
I
that.
was like, that almost could be like.
It's my Chud was stolen.
Or
It's a big wake-up call.
maybe Cthulhu, maybe.
We should know our car's license plates, but I'm glad that I'm not the only one that doesn't. I bet
Chud
a lot.
5-1.
I know mine.
Chode
Special.
69.
I know. Shut up, John Mark.
It doesn't surprise me that John Mark's the one that knows, but I bet a lot
right? The spy.
So honestly, like I have this weird thing. It's kind of like this weird OCD thing that I have, that when I'm driving around, like the car in front of me, I have to read the license plate in my mind. I say it I pronounce it out loud in my mind over and over and over and over. And so that's kind of like a thing where
You would be the best 911 caller.
644 BUX.
So license plate. So I know my license plate because of that. So when I look at it, I'm like, I pronounce it in my mind. And it's
Interesting.
just a thing.
Yeah.
It's just a thing. Just let it happen.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most common call you get? Like, what type of call do you get more than anything?
Probably medical.
I would have guessed neighbors playing their music too loud. That's the only. I think I have called 911.
We definitely do get a lot of noise complaints at night.
Yeah.
Oh, we have this one lady. She calls like every single night to say that there's cars driving down her street playing their music too loud. And you'll ask, what kind of car? I don't know.
What kind
of music?
It's like, do you just want somebody to just sit on the corner and just wait for somebody to be playing their music too loud? Because nobody cares. Nobody's going to do that.
I wouldn't mind if they were playing Frank
That's your
Sinatra.
job.
Oh, that's me. I disguise my voice as an old lady when I call 911. Yes, very good. So next door, they're playing that mariachi music at all volumes. And, Ron, this is the 9th time this week. Yeah, okay.
It's funny. I actually had a call because my neighbors were playing mariachi music. I work until like 2 a.m. most nights, and I came home and my neighbors were playing their mariachi music at like 2 in the morning out in the backyard. And so I called the non-emergency line and I told him, and I was talking to one of my colleagues and she's like, "Do you want to be anonymous?" And I'm like, "No, this is Katie. You can tell them I called. I don't care."
So let me ask you about that. When you say, when you call in and you say you want to remain anonymous, you obviously have my phone number. You know who I am, right? Like, so are we truly anonymous, or does our name go down somewhere in case? Like, we can't be truly anonymous, right? How does that work?
So all 911 calls are subject to public records request. So if you ask to be anonymous, we have to note that in your call. And if anybody ever requests that call, your name and number will be redacted. So
blackjacked.
Okay, so it is anonymous.
Yes. So
good to know.
Sometimes, like, we have people, they'll call and say, "Oh, I want to do a well check on my friend, but oh, please don't tell them that I called, but I want to talk to the officer afterwards." So we'll like have their name and their number in the call, but we'll make a note, wants to be anonymous, like, so it'll be redacted in the public record, and they won't like show up and knock on that person's door and said, "Oh, old man Evans called in a well check on you."
That's a good question, because it's like sometimes like you have situations with like your neighbors, or like, neighbors, the house down or whatever, and you're thinking like, well, if I call, even if it's anonymous, they're gonna know it's me that called.
It's human nature to feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What I would like to request, and it's only just out of the joy of the goodness in my heart, and me and Chris and John Mark will probably love it immensely.
I guess I'll hate it.
But could you and Mr. Ron Evans do a 911 call skit?
Oh God, I was hoping
and the skit starts out with Ron Evans as he's in his kitchen on top of a chair. Can we start this?
Oh boy, you had to go there.
Oh no.
Yeah, what web page do you have to pull up to guide me through inserting a chair? Slowly raise yourself up the same direction you fell down onto it. Well, it's funny that you mentioned the wellness check, because I do believe the last time that I called 911, it wasn't the emergency line, but it's like, it's still 911. It's just got a few more numbers in front of it. It feels like it all goes to the same place here.
It's still the same call center. Yeah, we do both.
It was to do a wellness check on Lyle, because Lyle had COVID. Obviously, he was suffering from all his, post-cancer stuff. And we knew that when Lyle got COVID, it was going to be serious. And Lyle almost died from COVID. So this was not old man Evans being, too neurotic. I couldn't get a hold of him. I couldn't get a hold of his family. I was freaking out. I went down there and I knocked on the door. I didn't know where Lyle was. I didn't know if he was in the hospital. He just stopped communicating. So I called Rivercom and asked them to do a wellness check. And someone told me that basically all they do in a wellness check is they drive by, they kind of look at the house, and then they knock. If no one answers, they go away. I guess, is that all there is to it? I don't know what else they could do.
More or less, unless they actually see or hear anything suspicious. now if it was to continue and you were to call a few more times and I don't know if he was a renter and you got permission from the landlord and they said, sure, kick the door in, like that would be different, but they can't just go and kick the door in on every welfare check. So
Yeah.
but yeah, they'll go and knock on the doors. We also like provide the phone numbers. Like, so if somebody was like, if you were calling about a welfare check on Lyle, I would say, okay, now what's Lyle's phone number? We'd have an officer try to call him as well. Just try to get in touch there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is difficult because, you know, like I took a welfare check just a couple weeks ago and this guy was concerned about his friend who had been making suicidal statements and sending text messages to his friend saying, this is it. This is my last night. I'll see you guys on the other side kind of thing. And officers went to his house and he wasn't there. And they tried calling him and he didn't answer. And the next day I came in and I saw some of the open calls and I saw an address and I'm like, oh, that looks familiar. And I opened it and it was a DOA call and it was that same guy and it was a suicide. It's like, ugh, it's like, you know, his friend tried, but the officers can't just sit on his house all night just waiting for him to, if and when he'll come home.
Yeah. What can you do?
That's hard.
Yeah. But, you know, I feel so bad like for his friend. I hope his friend doesn't think like it was anything that he did, but you know, at that point it was probably too late for anything he could have said or done if he'd already made his mind up.
Sure.
Well, on that note, super personal question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. You mentioned the cry room. What's the last thing that sent you to the cry room?
So there's only one call that has ever made me have to go cry for a while. Luckily, we have really great resources at work. They're super understanding. I took a call from a girl. It took a couple minutes to even know what she was reporting because she was just screaming like that guttural wail of someone who has just experienced like the worst loss. And I couldn't get words out of her for a couple minutes. And when she finally was able to talk to me, she told me that she had come home and she found that her boyfriend had hung himself.
Jesus Christ.
And that was really heavy. And, it, you know, it was too late for me to help him. But I feel like on that call, I hope I at least could provide some kindness to her during her rough time. And I feel like I held it together pretty well on the call. But after I got off the call, I like hit the button to make myself like not ready. So I'm not going to get another call right away.
Yeah.
I just forwarded the call to my supervisor. I'm like, I'm getting up for a minute. And they're like, okay, do what you need to do. And I went and I cried for probably about 15 minutes. And then I went and I called my husband and I told him, well, prior to calling him, I sent him a text. I said, I got a really bad call. I probably won't want to talk about it when I get home. And then I called him and he's like, okay, like you just said, you don't want to talk about it. I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I just want you to tell me something ridiculous. And he's like, oh, okay. And so he just like goes into some crazy story. And I'm like, good, this is exactly what I needed right now.
Yeah.
Just to listen to some ridiculous story that has nothing to do with a suicide.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oof.
That's crazy.
That is rough. Well, on a lighter note, has anyone ever tried to flirt with you on 911?
When I was first doing my one-on-one training, I was working overnights and I got a caller who told me he was very horny and wanted me to talk to him. I'm like, ooh, no.
It's low Saturday for Ron.
It's worth a try. It was worth a try, guys. It was worth a try.
Wrong 9 number.
It's like, look.
They're trying to go for the cheap option.
Like, I called from a payphone. They couldn't possibly track me. Still recognize my number. I don't know why that popped in my head, but you mentioned, I mean, it's funny how it hadn't really occurred to me how between mentally ill and just weirdos in general, like, and even if they're not mentally ill, just weirdos, you know, like that number's there. They know there's always going to be someone that answers. What about pranks? You've ever gotten any like straight up prank calls?
Oh yeah. It's not as big as it was a while ago, but swatting is still kind of a thing
I
with the
was going to
kids.
ask
If
about
you're aware of
swatting.
that.
Yes.
Yeah. Spotting.
Yeah.
Explain that. There might be somebody that doesn't know what that is that's listening.
So swatting tends to be somebody calls in something that is like a very high priority thing to try to like draw resources away or to try to like punk somebody. Like
To fuck with
they're
somebody.
gonna say they're gonna try to send it to their buddy's house or somebody. We can
Live
kind of
streamer,
suss those out pretty well because a lot
What
of
are the
times
signs? Yeah.
they tend to call on non-emergency numbers or by text. And
I was just gonna ask, can you text 911? I guess you can.
Yeah, you
you can,
can.
yes,
Does it go right to you as well?
it does. Yeah.
Because you might be in a trunk being kidnapped and you got your phone. There's all sorts of
And that
situations.
is actually a call I've gotten. I had a swatting call where somebody did tell me they were in a trunk and they had no idea where they were. But
Whoa.
like I had a GPS location and like they weren't moving.
Oh my God! So you just relay this information right to the cops?
Oh yeah. And like what she was telling me was like it just screams bullshit. Like you just gotta listen to your sixth sense on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can pull their GPS. You can pull up their location right there as you're taking the call. It's like
Sometimes.
instant.
Sometimes I feel like that is something that it's like a common misconception is that people think we know exactly where they are. And sometimes we have a really good idea and sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
If you're calling from a landline, yes, we know exactly where you are.
Sure.
But if you're calling from a cell phone, you're not always going to hit off the tower that's closest to where you are. So it comes with different levels of uncertainty, and we have little buttons we can click to like retransmit the call and try to get like better locations. But sometimes you just don't get a good location.
So how did you handle it when you knew or when you had a feeling that you were getting a swatting call? Because you got your gut feeling, but you still got to treat it as a potential situation. So how did you handle that one?
Yeah. So I still have to put in the information, but instead of like putting it in as like an abduction, which is going to send like every cop in the area, like we have different type codes that have different priorities. So if I get something that like doesn't sit right with me, like we have like a code we can put it in as a suspicious circumstance, which is a little lower priority, so it's not going to send like everyone in the area, but it still lets them know like, hey, this could be something.
Do you like upgraded at some point if you feel like, can you do that?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I can't upgrade it. I can make a recommendation to upgrade it, but it would be the dispatcher who upgrades it because they're sending the units.
Okay.
The whole thing where SWAT actually came
Information, please upgrade.
Was people that were actually online streaming video games, and what would happen is somebody would call a SWAT. Basically, if you'd be playing like Call of Duty, which is a war game, and they would call and say there's gunfire in this room, blah blah blah, or from this house, and then they would bring the SWAT team, and the SWAT team would go through their house, and it was usually known streamers.
Yeah,
so
and it was happening to celebrities too.
Yeah. So
like celebrities like Rihanna were getting swatted.
Well, it's been done to like high profile political candidates recently.
Maria Taylor Green. God, I hate her. Marjorie Taylor Greene. She got swatted a couple of times, I think.
Really? Like, yeah, there's some other people too. It's like it's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the things we see is they'll call like on the non-emergency line and say like, oh, there was a shooting at this address, but like they're calling the non-emergency line, so that automatically like makes it suspicious.
Yeah, that's weird.
Or if they are calling on 911, they're giving me an address that does not match anywhere near where they're hitting, like
they're pinging,
even based on, it doesn't even matter about the cell towers, like they're showing up like at a different side of town, and it's like, oh, but you're there, huh? And somebody's shot. Yeah, sure they are.
It's interesting because a while ago, swatting was a very successful thing, very successful prank. But now all law enforcement, they've been trained on swatting is a thing, and they know how to look for certain signs. And because somebody died, I'm sure several people have died, but there was a famous story. It was one of these live streamers, and it was this feud that this guy had with one of these live streamers. He was gaming, and he called in, like you said, some major crime, like an active shooter, and they swatted to this house, but they got like the wrong house. It was the house next door or something. This guy, just totally confused, came out onto his porch, and I think he had his phone or a remote control or something in his hand, and they shot him right there, killed him right on his fucking porch. The guy who called in the SWAT went to prison for, I think, like 20 fucking years. Like, they're cracking down on this shit, and they fucking should. There are so many fucked up things with that law, or with that quote unquote prank. People could get killed. It uses up resources, but it's also kind of a cry wolf thing, because after so many SWATs, like there's an active shooter call is an active shooter call. We just had one at the fucking Chiefs Super Bowl parade, and this shit happens almost daily now. And they got that swatting thing in the back of their heads. It's like sometimes that might actually fuck up how you approach this. So swatting absolutely should be cracked down, and I was glad to see that motherfucker went away, because he literally caused that guy's death. Now, there may need to be an investigation into the person that shot him, and I'm sure there was. That's a separate topic, but they wouldn't be there if some motherfucker just didn't call 911. Swatting is insane to me. I can't understand the mentality that doesn't see the risks and the dangers that, like, if you're going to do this at a buddy's house, like fucking around.
They don't care, dude.
And it's usually kids, and they don't care, and they don't understand like what they're doing. They just think it's a funny prank.
So fucked up.
Do you get a lot of kids calling? Like I remember calling, but cell phones are so different from landlines. I remember picking up the fucking landline and calling 911 when I was like 6, just to see.
Do you know what we get a lot of now?
My
we
mom
get a lot
buys
of
the
like
cheap
babies
cereal.
calling 911 because people don't realize that old cell phones, even if they don't have an active SIM card, they can still call 911, and they give them to their kids to like watch videos.
Oh,
and
my
so
God.
like we get calls, and you can hear like a toddler babbling, and it's from a call or from a phone that can literally only dial 911. Like it can't dial any other number. So we get a lot of babies calling 911.
Funny.
I can see an Apple phone as of now technology, because I mean, like a kid having a phone, like just to grab their parents' cell phone and they're fucking with it, and all you have to do is push those 2 buttons, and then it goes to the slide for SOS or whatever it is.
It's kind of funny because we have like 100 or so people in my call center, and I am number 1 for like the most hang up calls and like false alarms. I have more of those than anyone else, so I get like more accidental butt dials, kids calling 911 than anybody else.
I am so confused how in the age of the iPhone I still manage to butt dial, and people still manage to butt dial me. It's so strange. Like, what is happening in my pocket?
And we get it like
to make that
from
happen.
People's Apple Watches and stuff. And
so many times my watch is like, "Have you fallen?" I was like, "No, bitch, it was just getting off the couch. Like, calm down."
You're like, well, yes, I've fallen, but it's not an emergency.
From an Apple Watch, and those ones are so annoying because it's like a recording from Apple, and it just like repeats coordinates to you over and over and over again.
Awesome.
And then you have like an open line where you can kind of listen to like what's happening around that watch. I got one of those, and it's like, well, you can kind of hear something, but what's going on? And
how long do you listen before
I got, well, we
you realize they're just
a
fucking
little bit, see if we hear anything suspicious, and then we hang up and call back. But like, I got this one, and this guy's like, "Oh yeah, I was pressure washing my house."
That's cool.
Like, that's
what the kids are calling it these days.
Yeah, we definitely. Oh no, I've definitely gotten calls from people who have initiated it while they were humping. Yeah. And they'll admit it. They're like, "Oh yeah, we were having sex. Sorry."
Straight up.
And it's like, "Oh, but you answered the call back."
That's good.
Literally butt dialed it, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh well, why don't we end this on a happy note?
Yeah, I think that's a
You
good
want to
place
play a
to
little
end.
strange triv?
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
It's Weird Trivia with Christopher F. Hahn. A man from Florida. Poop things. Weird shit and weird trivia. Don't get me started on the goddamn brown hair. It's Weird Trivia that might get Christopher fired.
All right. Thank you. Yes. Let's do this. We're going to do a traditional order with Katie at the end there so she can listen and gather any kind of wisdom on what she wants to do or does not want to do based on how you answer.
Okay.
All right. This is a fun one. I've got some great ones here, guys. I'm on fire tonight. I'm on fucking fire tonight.
You are. Tough.
Question 1. When Blink-182 got big enough that they had to register themselves as an LLC, they chose this name. Mostly because they got pleasure at the idea of lawyers having to say it in legal documents over and over again. What is the name of Blink-182's LLC? Is it Boner, Boner, Boner?
Classic.
Is it Tits? What'd you say?
I say like I'm a ding ding dong.
Mm-hmm. Is it Tits and Gore?
Oh, I have that on a pillow.
Is it Your Mom?
Like it.
Or is it Poo Poo Butt?
Poo Poo
Oh, wait,
Butt.
wait. Again, Blink-182 had to register their LLC, and they thought it'd be funny to name it this. Is it Boner, 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 Tits and Gore, Your Mom, or Poo Poo Butt?
Well, out of all of those, I would
Monster.
like to hear lawyers or anybody else have to professionally say Poo Poo Butt would be the one that I would get the most joy out of. So I'm going to go with D. Poo Poo
Going
Butt.
with the Poo Poo Butt.
Mm-hmm.
My kid had Poo Poo Butt last
Poo
night.
Poo Butt LLC.
Mud
okay.
butt.
They're all
Oh,
pretty.
boy.
You have to listen to the other podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
John, Mark.
I'm going with the brown herring of poo poo butt.
Poo Poo Butt.
Excellent. I'm going to put you down for a D as well. Lyle.
Look at this poo poo butt. Every time I see it, laugh. Yeah.
Did Lyle think he said Nickelback?
Nickelback. That's Nickelback, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with poo poo butt because it did make me laugh awkwardly. But
Yeah, that's
inside I
the winner
felt
so
I felt
far.
good.
Which probably means it is the
Felt a
brown
good warmth
herring.
with it.
All right, Katie.
Plentiful.
You feeling-
warmth with that one.
You feeling like you want to get in on this Poo Poo Butt with
Yeah, you could go safe or edgy here.
I'm gonna not go towards the poop things, and I'm gonna go towards the trip bone. Boner, boner, boner.
Boner, boner, boner,
I appreciate the
triple
boldness.
Boner.
Trip bone.
Going against the fam.
I like it.
Okay.
All right. Boner,
The hat
boner,
trick.
boner.
3? Counting 3 boners?
The hat trick.
Not one boner, but 3 boners.
I like
The hat prick.
I like that.
Can
Not
you
a bad LLC
handle
name.
3 boners, my friend?
All right, question 2. In Canada, while they have the same candy that we have, that we call Smarties, it's called something else. So the same exact candy. Think of the Smarties package, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it called in Canada? Is it Rockets, Pucks, Diskies, or Dummies?
Dummies was the first thing that came to my brain, but would that be Canada making fun of us?
Smarties and dummies.
Disc?
Yeah.
Is it Diskies? Pucks?
Diskies?
Pucks.
Diskies. What was the first one?
Diskies.
Uh-huh. Rockets,
Rockets.
Pucks, Diskies, or Dummies?
Rockets isn't as fun as the others, which makes me think that might be it because
you.
they're
Look at you.
packaged like a tube,
It's
a
Canada.
rockety tube.
Yeah.
I really want to go with Diskies. And Dummies was the first thing I thought of, but
That should be your first opening sentence on your Grinder profile. I want to go with Diskies.
Dummies was my first thought. Boy, I would be disappointed if I didn't know that Canada's version of Smarties was Dummies, but that doesn't mean I do. I'm going to go, oh boy, I really want to go with Diskies, but I'm going to go with Rockets, just because
Going Rockets.
it's not as fun as the others.
I like
And
this.
for some reason, I think
Not
that
as-
might be the
not
one
as-
who
not
didn't,
as fun.
didn't make up.
Okay.
But I'm behind all the others. I'll gladly be wrong if it's Diskies and or Dummies.
Sounds like a cereal. That one. Diskies.
Diskies.
Come get yourself
John
some
Mark.
Disky, Chris.
You know, Pucks seems like the cylindrical herring, but I'm going to go with it.
Oh, so is Diskies.
Technically, Diskies and Pucks are about the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much, but, you know, Pucks.
Guys.
Fuck it.
Scientifically,
Okay.
but not spiritually.
Going with Pucks.
I'm gonna go.
Calling
Yeah.
my name.
I'm gonna go with the theme of rockets. I'm gonna say like they got this awesome commercial setup where they're like, "Got a rocket in my pocket, gonna have me a treat."
God, what are you selling?
The rockets.
Got a
Condoms.
rocket in my pocket. I promise I won't give you
That bare minimum.
Diskies.
Might get laid tonight, but I got a rocket in my pocket. Yeah.
Get a call 5 days later. Dude, you totally gave me Diskies.
Exactly. Oh no. Is there a cure for those discs?
It's penicillin.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah,
Mhm.
shot in the butt.
Fuck.
Yeah, rockets it is.
Okay. All right, Katie.
I'm gonna go with Pucks because that sounds pretty Canadian.
It does. Oh, I hadn't even made the hockey connection.
Yeah.
It is a hockey
Fuck.
country.
Fucking.
That's the
brick
thing,
up
is
that
it seemed
maple
too
syrup.
obvious, but it's like, you know, come on,
Pancakes.
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, here's another great actor question. I fucking love these. Like people that audition for a role that would have vastly changed a movie you adore.
Yeah.
That were this close to becoming a character you love. All
Changed
right.
history. Mm.
Totally. So Back to the Future thing with Michael J. Fox.
You
And
know, at
what
some
was-
point,
what's
we're
the guy's
going to
name that
see
was-
these movies done with AI. Like, here's what Back to the Future would have been like with Eric Stoltz. They'll probably get pretty close.
Listen, I'm okay with some of that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, make
I
it
don't
a special feature.
know. I hate AI. Yeah. Yeah. All right. This actor auditioned for the role of Mad Mardigan in Willow and lost out to Val Kilmer. And for a long time, he considered this one of his biggest roles he missed out on. Who almost played Mad Mardigan? Is it? We all have seen Willow, I hope. God,
Mhm,
please.
yeah.
I haven't. I don't think I have, but I don't remember.
I just watched it again, like not too long ago.
Well,
So
think
good.
of the era, and Val Kilmer played a swordsman type.
Yes. Yeah. Like
Warrior,
the
kind of
anti-hero here turned
He's
hero.
Han Solo.
questing. Yeah,
Yeah, he's the Han Solo. That's great.
Han
but kinda
Solo
goofy.
Something.
Yeah.
pratfally.
This guy almost played him. Was it Charlie Sheen,
Okay.
Kiefer Sutherland,
Hmm.
Steven Seagal,
That's a '90s fucking setup right there, buddy.
Solid already.
or John Cusack?
Boy, I really wish I could dial up what year
Ferris Bueller.
Willow came out.
What?
Ferris Bueller. Who's the last one?
John Cusack.
Wasn't he Ferris Bueller?
That's not
No.
No, that's
That's
Matthew
Matthew
Broderick.
Yeah.
John
Oh,
Cusack is Say Anything or
Oh, okay.
Better
Yeah,
Off
yeah.
Dead.
Gross Point Blank.
Yeah.
Yeah, girls not like.
High Fidelity, one of my favorite movies. Still the best records movie.
Ooh.
Boy, this is fucking
Better
tough.
Off Dead.
Fastest
Come on
going sport in
now.
the nation.
I
Better
am
Off Dead.
trying to think of when Willow came out. I feel like I lived in... We'd already moved to Wenatchee by then, which would have been 87, 88. But God, it feels older than that. That up against those other names.
I think it was like 88-ish.
Is that what you would guess?
89?
If that's true, you're...
I feel like it was before then.
87?
Well, if that's correct,
Well, I'm not
then...
going to tell you guys. I'm going to look it up.
I would say like 85 or 86.
Well, if that's
I don't
correct,
think it was that.
that
I
was
don't
well
think it was that
after
early.
Ferris Bueller, and that was well after Stand By Me. So that takes care of Kiefer, Matthew. What was the other one? Steven Seagal.
Matthew wasn't an option.
Oh, not Matthew.
Oh yeah, that's my fuck up.
Cusack. They were
Steven
all,
Seagal,
they were all
Kiefer,
pretty
Charlie
big
Sheen, and
stars.
John Cusack.
They were all pretty big stars by then. So to me, that narrows it down to one Steven Seagal. right? We got Cusack.
Mhm.
I used to get called Steven Seagal all the time.
Kiefer Sutherland.
That long.
And
Look,
who's the first one?
Charlie Sheen.
Oh, Charlie Sheen.
Tiger Blood.
See, he was.
Tiger Blood, baby.
He was in movies, but he wasn't a big star at that point. I'm down to Seagal
yes,
and
all his comedy roles. Remember, like
see the
baseball movies.
The gut.
Here's the thing,
Yeah,
though.
but
it's
that
like,
was
we don't know,
90s.
like that was a long time ago. We don't remember shit.
Right.
Yeah, this is tricky. See. My gut wants to go with Steven Seagal because it was a long-haired swordsman, but it was Val Kilmer who, at that point, was really only well known for. I mean, outside of Top Gun.
Top Gun.
He did Top Secret. He did all the top movies, but he was more of
He
a
was a top actor.
He was a top
he was the
top
top man. So with that in mind, I think I'm leaning toward Charlie Sheen because if they were looking for a comedian type character for that, boy, I really think it's between Seagal and Charlie Sheen. I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with Sheen.
Okay.
Just judging from, I mean, Kiefer, when did Lost Boys come out? That would have been probably right around then. But Stand By Me was a big movie, and he was in that.
89, maybe.
He was in here
Oh my God, you guys are killing me.
Well, don't you follow my logic, John Mark?
No. I thought you just like the years. Like what's killing me is like the 81,
fair.
80,
Well, I have a
85,
very-
87. It's like
I have a very
Because, like,
It was
clear.
somewhere in that decade.
like literally like because like okay, so I used to subscribe to Fangoria, right? So all these like horror movies, like you're saying, like Lost Boys, like 81, 85, 87, like, but like the whole thing is so slippery and nebulous now that it's so long ago. You know what I mean?
Nebulous.
It is,
It's
but,
like-
changed it on.
but
us,
I
too.
have a very
It's like,
specific
what?
split in time because there was my days in Iniat, and then we moved to Wenatchee. We moved to Wenatchee in 1987. I watched Tom Cruise in Top Gun, or Val Kilmer in Top Gun in Iniat, and we watched Stand By Me in Iniat. So I know that happened before 1987, or
There you go.
right in the early days of 87. So I get what you're saying, but in my mind,
But
I
what
kinda-
about Willow and Lost Boys?
Willow? Well, like I said, I believe I saw that after we moved to Wenatchee. Anyway, let's move on to someone else. I chose Charlie
Yeah,
Sheen.
they were. Lost Boys was in the late 80s.
I'm
It
going.
was probably the same
with,
year as Willow.
I'm just gonna go with John Cusack. Fuck it.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
All right.
Fuck you.
What are you down for John?
Fuck all ya.
I thought is it Cusack or Cusack? I've been saying Cusack.
I think it's
You know what?
Cusack.
I really want to go with
Cusack.
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 I watched one of his movies recently on P.
Well, when you first asked this question and you gave us the four answers, my very first and only one that came
Sure.
logical to me was Charlie Sheen. The only one. 100%. He fits that character perfectly. He could have played it perfectly, and he would have been amazing doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But
All I
then,
know is John Cusack's
Oh,
fucking hardcore on Twitter.
He's zigging.
Well,
he's
Keither-
zigging.
Oh, we got an
Kiefer
analyze happening here.
Sutherland, though, I think all dressed up in his, I think he could pull it off better.
Oh, I could see that.
I would
Because
love
he's-
to see it.
But the question is,
God.
he
Are we
specifically
again, or,
he
I'm
specifically
going with
said
Kiefer Sutherland.
okay.
that it was the biggest role he was anticipating, right?
That he missed.
Yes.
Like up until then,
Most
that he
definitely.
missed.
Yes.
I would say his role, like any of those roles, were bigger than Val Kilmer and Willow, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh.
Fair enough. Katie.
I'm torn between Kiefer and Charlie, but I think I'm
Mm,
gonna go with Kiefer.
Okay, I'll put you down for a B. Kiefer Sutherland. Cusack. Okay.
Cusack.
Lost Boys was
Wait,
87, so
Cusack.
Cusack?
87.
Cusack.
Usak?
Cusack.
Cusack.
Usak?
Excuse me.
Who's
Gesundheit.
Cusack.
Okay. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this up.
About to
Fun
cue
one
my
here.
sack
When
on
this
all
famous-
y'all's faces.
Oh no.
Oh,
Q and
911, what's your emergency? I've been Q-sacked.
911.
Old man Evans is about to cue his sack.
I don't
What
have
about the
any
babe?
instructions for that.
Send the
I'm being
SWAT.
attacked by a set of nutsacks. They seem to be bouncing off my face. I don't know what to do.
Send the squad SWAT.
Can you help, please?
Breathe through your mouth.
That's probably the last thing to do. Oh, no.
That's a mistake.
End this. All right, question 4.
Okay.
You're right. These second shows are better. All right, question 4. When this famous rock star was just getting started in the music industry, he wrote a song to impress his college girlfriend. Not having a lot of money at the time, this was his way of showing his affection for her. The song he wrote would eventually end up being one of his first hits. Who are we talking about here? Was it A, Bryan Adams?
Summer of '69.
Was it B, Sting?
I'll be watching you.
Everyone loud, please. Is it C, Huey Lewis?
It's hit to be square.
There you go.
Yeah, baby, all right. Or is it D, Eddie Money?
I knew it.
I don't know any Eddie Money songs.
How could you not?
I
We
don't.
sing one
I laugh. I laugh. At
every
the
4
show.
episodes. We sing at least a little bit of.
Question one more time.
This famous rock star, when he was just getting started in the music industry, didn't have a lot of money to buy a gift for his girlfriend, so he wrote her a song instead. This would end up being one of his first hits. Who was the rock star? Bryan Adams, Sting, Huey Lewis, or Eddie Money?
I'm having a hard time.
Bronster.
It doesn't necessarily need to be a song named after a woman, but that's how my brain's working.
No, but
Obviously,
it's
we
gotta-
got Roxanne.
Gotta have that passion and that sexy. Hey, you know.
Bryan Adams. I can't
It's
think
a
of.
gift. This is a gift to you.
Can't think of any. Yeah, but I mean, if you're really gonna give a girl a gift and you're gonna write a song, it's gonna be My Sharona.
You're gonna make it mean
It's gonna be
something.
Roxanne.
Yeah,
It's
or-
gonna be Amanda.
My
Right?
gift is my song, and this one's for you.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
This is probably a stupid way to go about it, but the only one I can think of that is based on a woman's name is Roxanne. So I'm gonna go Sting.
I'm gonna go Sting.
Roxanne, but I feel like that was Latter Day Police. But
It's about a prostitute.
It is song
His
about
high
a
school
prostitute.
girlfriend was a
You don't
hoe.
have to turn
you
on
know
that
that?
red light, baby.
oh,
Come on.
I never made that connection. So
Yeah.
are you telling me that I chose wrong
Yeah.
before you're telling me?
will
what
I'm
let
I
you
not
did?
again.
telling you that. I'm just saying. I think Roxanne's about a
That-
prostitute, bro.
It is.
I never made the red light connection. That's funny. Well, I'm sticking to it.
Red
Hey,
light.
listen,
Even though you
honey,
basically
you
told
don't
me
have
I was
to whore
wrong.
tonight. I've got it.
Yeah. Come home with me. Get
After
over
all
with me.
these decades, you're like, oh,
Ron's
turn
wrong.
off the red light.
You don't have to.
Running.
You don't have to go ahead on win. All right.
What was the second?
Sting. So Bryan Adams, Sting, Huey Lewis, or Eddie Money.
Brian. I'm. You know what? With absolutely no
Mm-hmm.
reason
Do it.
other than like
Mm-hmm.
initial gut instinct. Bam, Brian Adams.
Yes.
Oh,
Come to me.
okay. Put you up for Bryan
It's
Adams.
probably like a song called Linda.
I have no idea why, but just Brian Adams. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know
I
early
think Sting.
Bryan Adams.
I think Sting is already kind of like when he started. He was already pretty well known. I think he was almost jump started just by starting. You know, when he got famous. So
Singing
I don't know.
singing about his prostitute wife.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
when he
like,
went by
he's already
Sting,
gone that
but
way.
I'm sure Chris is
And-
referring to when he
and-
would have been.
and
Oh
Sting-
God.
And Sting's got the song about the stalker song where I'll be watching you. I'll be watching you.
With your red light
Because-
on.
Well, no, it's that whole song. Dude, is literally about him stalking his ex-wife.
Sure, okay.
It's open to
So-
interpretation.
Like one does.
Well, like one does. I'm not gonna go with Sting,
No.
but the one guy out of the whole bunch I think was probably, raised kind of like Bruce Springsteen. Like out there like a man would be Bryan Adams, and I think he would be the
What does
type
any
to
of that mean?
Manly one.
Have you heard some of Brian Adams' love songs?
He was raised like Bruce
don't remember
Springsteen right
dancing
there,
in
like a
school?
man. What's the every little
God,
thing
that was fucking great.
I do for
I go with the
you?
manliest answer
That's
here.
a man, goddammit.
That's goddamn Brian Adams, American hero. Wait,
He's a
Canadian,
fucking
probably.
hero. He's a
he's
national
Canadian.
treasure. Damn,
You
national.
guys know that he played a
sorry,
show in Wenatchee because he lost a bet. Oh wait, was that him or was that Willie Nelson?
That was Willie Nelson.
One of those two played a show in Wenatchee because they
Same
lost
guy.
a bet in golfing.
Yeah, you can see how you got confused.
I think that
He's really he's
Same
one of his
career.
best friends lives here, and he owns a bunch of property up towards like
Every
going up
little
towards,
thing
like Leavenworth.
I do for
And,
you.
he's got like a whole ranch.
That's
and,
right. It was a friend.
He-
It was a
he
favor
had
to a
bad
friend.
drinking bet. Yeah, and ended up losing, and so he played at the.
But wait, was that
Toyota
Willie
Center.
Nelson or was that Brian Adams?
It was Willie Nelson.
Okay.
Oh, Willie Nelson.
I'll look up later
Okay.
why Brian Adams played Wenatchee. Because it was when he was big.
Can you remind me of the answers again, please?
Brian
What, you don't
Adams,
remember
it's
the
been a
question
while, I
from
know.
But you
20 minutes
you
ago?
got to sing the song.
I'm like,
You
is Willie Nelson an option? I don't know.
All right, who wrote the song for their girlfriend that would end up being a hit? Brian Adams, Sting, Huey Lewis, or Eddie Money?
I'm gonna go for Huey Lewis.
Love it. Okay,
I'll be
All right, let's
watching
go.
you.
let's go with the answers here.
Every
See how
little
you guys
step.
did.
I'm trying to do
Question
everything as
one:
Willie
When
Nelson.
Every step you take. Sorry.
No, go on.
Finish
No,
your
I
thought,
don't.
Chris.
I don't remember. I'm trying to remember the song.
Now I'm in the mood for it, Lau.
Uh,
All right, when Blink-182 got big.
Step you take. Every move you make.
there we go.
Sploosh.
Every time I gotta get the reverb in, but it won't play out. Oh, now I went Meatloaf. Sorry.
It just-
But I won't do that.
Someone's
You
getting
went full
pregnant.
meatloaf.
Yeah.
It's a good thing my tubes are tied.
Never,
no shit.
never sting the meatloaf, Lyle. That's the cardinal rule right there. All
I
right,
should
let's see
have
where we're at.
thrown meatloaf into that
I had
questionnaire next time.
Well, I
All
had
right.
everything shut off, but I was gonna do with the reverb, with the reverb, you know. But
Mm.
Boom,
Okay.
boom, boom, boom,
yeah. Hello, check. Yeah.
All right. When Blink-182 got big enough that they had to register an LLC for their band, they thought it'd be funny if they had to hear the lawyers say over and over again in court that their company was called Poo Poo Butt.
Oh, nice.
Oh, poo poo butt. All right. Oh, Katie, you didn't go with the family on
That's a
that
poo-poo
one.
butt.
Well, that was risky.
Ron, John, Mark, and Lyle, you all went with Poo Poo Butt.
Yeah.
Dang, I went for the boner.
You went with the triple bone. You know, always-
Pee pee poo poo.
Some of us go
triple
back to
bone herring.
front. Some of us go front to back. Mm-hmm.
You know, love, yeah. Very well. We
Poo Poo
always
Butt
go with
LLC exists. I love that. I'm not a big Blink-182 fan, but that's a
that.
winner.
Well, isn't his the lead singer like really into UFOs, or am I wrong? Wrong man.
Well, there's two
Tom
singers.
DeLonge,
It's
I
the
think.
yeah
Yes,
one
he
of
is.
them.
There's
yeah.
two singers.
Yeah. In Canada, they have Smarties. They have the same exact candy, same formula, everything, but it's called something different.
Put it
It's
in your
called.
pocket.
It is called Rockets, Lyle.
Nice.
Ron and Lyle got that correct. given the-
Rocket.
I have to say, I'm particularly proud of dummies.
That was pretty good, but I was like, no,
That was
that's
my
not the
first
thing.
guess
That's not
before
it.
you called it. I'm more proud of Diskies. You
Smarties
almost,
and dummies.
you almost had me with Diskies. There's something so stupid and Canadian about it. Diskies. No offense to our Canadian listeners.
No.
Pucks seemed too obvious, but it was like, you know what?
But they
No,
look like
that
little
seems-
pucks.
They
You look at
do.
them, they look like little fucking
Yeah,
pucks.
they're
Yeah, they do.
literally pucks. Mm-hmm.
I'd call it candy pucks. Fuck it.
Yeah, man. Let's
Fuck
make
it.
some. All right, Ron and Lyle got points on that, putting them up to 2 with John Mark at 1.
Oh, interesting.
Question 3. This actor auditioned for the role of Mad Mardigan in Willow, but lost out to Val Kilmer. Considered it one of the biggest roles he ever missed out on. It was John Cusack.
Yes.
John Mark taking another point here.
That was
I could see that. I could see him playing that part.
Now, see, I'm not as strong on my Cusack timeline as I am on the others, so I guess that makes sense. But Better Off Dead was well before.
It's time to rectify that.
Like Better Off Dead was a pretty big movie, wasn't it? And what was the other? Say Anything. That was probably.
And then he was in. Then he was in like all the John Hughes movies too. He was like bit parts in like 16 Candles and everything.
Was he?
Yeah.
I'm looking up John.
All right.
Part of her lives.
Why would he think that would be a bigger role than Better Off Dead? I don't know.
Because it was a George Lucas film.
I don't remember that. That's good tidbit.
I mean, come on.
I am long overdue for a rewatching of Willow because I'll be honest, I loved it as a kid, but I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Yeah, let me tell you, there's some nostalgia value, but it doesn't totally hold up.
Don't like the never-ending story.
Your mileage may vary. I'll just say.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Oh, he was even in Stand By Me. Okay, well, hang on. I'm sorry. I know we've dragged this out, but Katie was right. He was in 16 Candles, but he was also in Better Off Dead, as I mentioned, leading role. He was in The Journey of Natty Gann. That was a big role. Stand By Me. I don't remember his role in Stand By Me, but that was a big movie. No, this is all before. This is all well before.
I think Stand By Me. That's our next group party watch movie.
I fucking love that movie. Tapeheads. So he was in Tapeheads the same year that Willow came out. I recommend Tapeheads. It is not a great movie, but it is a weird cult movie that everyone needs to see. It's a great movie. I just said it's not a great movie, but then I said it's a great movie.
All right, we're tied 2 pop for Ronster and John Mark.
All right.
Let's see what happens in question 4 here.
I'm nervous.
When this famous rock star was just getting started in the music industry, he wrote a song to impress his college girlfriend. He had no money. He had nothing to buy her. He couldn't throw lavish gifts at her. So he just started writing a little ditty about maybe getting a couple of tickets to a plane to paradise.
You know, I was just thinking it has been so long.
Oh shit!
Eddie Money in this house.
The money
Nobody went with Eddie Money.
And nobody did.
Money. This was a my Google
clever play.
Alert. Eddie Money alerts are paying off dividends right now.
You know, if I was smart, I'd be signed up too, but I'm not gonna do it because I'm gonna let you have your little fucking fun. Tonight was a big win for you. Because no one chased the money herring.
Yeah, 100% real. One of his very first hits was something he wrote for. He was just trying to impress his college girlfriend because he had no money to buy her nice gifts.
Do you know what song it was?
2 tickets to paradise.
Are you fucking kidding?
Was it that song?
No, man, that's the real. Yeah, 2 tickets to paradise.
Okay, well that makes sense. Because that song is about saving up, planning. You've waited so long. And now we've got 2 tickets to paradise, which is literally a song about going on vacation. So that does make sense that it would be written by a poor person. Okay.
We got ourselves a little tiebreaker here now.
Well played.
Let's see.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Give me.
Okay. I am gonna throw one at you. You guys can all send me a message. You play along, Katie, if you want. We'll see who gets closest. But the only 2 really playing here are John Mark and Ronster. This is a question that may be more fair for Ron. I apologize, John Mark, but it's timely, and I want to get it out here. Open up a message just to me. This is a number. I want you to send it to me in relative tardiness. That's not the right word.
Relative tardiness.
Again, we've been doing this for 3+ hours.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go, guys. Post haste.
Okay.
Pete Carroll coached the Seahawks for 14 years.
I bless that American treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Of those 14 years, how many times did the Seahawks make the playoffs? Give it to me.
Ooh, easy. No, I don't know. But hi. Hello.
I have Katie's. I have Lyle's.
I'm staring at my ceiling in anger.
I'm trying to get you in text messaging, and it's not pulling you up so I can individually message you.
That sucks.
Really
I do not understand what's happening here.
God, I'm probably way off here. Well, if everyone else has answered, I'll just send it to the group since I'm kind of splitting the difference.
Lyle,
I really don't know. I really don't know.
John Mark, just waiting on you, buddy.
Man.
Oh, you already.
Was it really that long? It doesn't seem like it was that long since
I know.
Holmgren left.
It doesn't, but I remember Dave, a guy that Christopher and I used to work with, came over and peeked over our cubicle and said, Pete Carroll just got hired. And he was upset about it. He's like, Pete fucking Carroll? I didn't know who Pete Carroll was, but he was upset. So I remember that being one
John Mark, I
world
still
revelation.
don't have anything from you.
Yeah. My guess is nothing because you guys are speaking like moon language to me now. I have no idea what's happening.
Well,
So my guess is nothing.
It is
Football.
Well, then I
Well, that makes Ron our winner tonight.
You could have guessed 1 to 14.
That's true. Ron said 8, I believe. God, I'm sorry. I'm not
Yeah, I
looking
said
at my
8.
text messages. Ron said 8. John Mark, Lyle said 10. Katie said 6, I believe. 7. Yeah, correct. Retail price was 10. 10 out of the 14 years he took us to the
nice.
postseason, which is
Okay.
pretty good,
Yeah, that's
pretty cool.
the second time I've done that, clairvoyantly. It's
Yeah, yeah, that one.
Clairvoyantly.
Oh, I have no idea. I'm just like,
Oh, Phillies and goosebumps.
Yeah,
No,
but
I
you can
nailed
put
it.
down a number between 1 and 14.
Well, but I got the one that was 45.
That's pretty fucking
nowhere.
impressive.
It's
14 years.
It is.
Chris, will you text me something so I can see? Like, my shit's not pulling up your fucking contact, and it's really weird.
Sure, man.
That's super weird.
Oh, remember when we all blocked John Mark?
Laughed about it. No.
Forgot to unblock him. That's awkward.
Got all upset because he was winning all the trivias. Just like, God, you need to block
You're like,
that
you know
fucking
what?
guy.
No,
Speaking of
motherfucker.
winning all the trivias, Ronster 2 in a row.
He's too intelligent and well traveled for
Did I
us
do
to
2
play
in a row?
with.
Didn't you win both times tonight, sir?
No,
Yeah.
Lyle won the tiebreaker. Didn't he?
Yeah, but he wasn't in the.
I wasn't playing. I was already out.
I
He
won.
wasn't.
Oh,
It
shit.
was you and John Mark.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Because
so-
I won by
Mhm.
default. Because John Mark didn't
You
answer.
is the champion.
You
You're
be
right.
the
These second
champion.
shows. Woo wee. Yeah, I'm about not quite halfway through a fifth, but pretty darn close. It has been a week. A good week, but a week. Well, let's get on out of here. Katie, thanks so much for joining us and sharing your kooky stories. I'll definitely put up
Of course. Thank you for having me.
a couple of trigger warnings.
I'll try to send you a map picture.
Yeah, anything you can send, and if you can't, don't worry about it. I know these are kind of...
I'll send you what I can without getting fired.
I think
There
it'd be
you go.
cool to see what the people taking these calls, you know, what their stations look like. I'm curious. And I can't think of anything else to use for the graphic for the show, so it might be cool. If you can,
Yeah,
do
that
it.
worked
If not.
pretty well.
All right, let's
Cover
get
the
on out of
show.
here, guys. Next week, we're going to be talking about 9/11. And,
Can't wait.
You're going to want to tune into that. Should be a barrel of laughs, so we'll talk then.
Night, guys.
Night.
Good
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Katie.
"911.
Old man Evans is about to
babe.
cue his sack.
I'm being attacked by a set of nut sacks. They seem to be bouncing off my face. I don't know what to do.
Send the squat
can
swat.
you help, please."
Breathe through your mouth.
That's probably the last thing